Microsoft may dial back its Copilot everywhere in Windows 11 initiative. AI agents are getting their own social media network, and Khaby Lame, the top TikToker in the world, sells his brand likeness and mannerisms for $900 to $975 million. Got all this, and we got a spotlight for you. In fact, we're going to have a spotlight every week in Black History Month. So we got a bunch of stuff going on. So that being said, from Columbus, Ohio, I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl, Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. Happy Black History Month. If you celebrate, if you don't celebrate, then we know what time it is.
So Terrance, you got on the, Steph's sweatshirt.
Reppin'.
Steph, you got on the Black History sweatshirt. I just got on all gray. I'm feeling left out because I got a 1619 shirt over there.
I'm saying it's February 2nd. Yeah, go change. Yeah. Matter of fact,
I might go. I'm gonna do that. Y'all talk.
No, look, that's too much. Let's start the show.
It's literally I can almost touch it. It's like
text your wife, tell her to bring it.
So now I'll wear it next week.
100%.
But we gonna get into this tech in a minute. But it is Black History Month. And we know what the reasons are. We don't even got to get into this, but folks is trying to make it go away. We're not gonna let it go away. So it's gonna be blackity black on the show this week and next week and the week after that and the week after that. And we got some good spotlights coming up for you. But it is before we get started, did any of y'all watch the Grammys at all last night? Now I can tell you right now, I didn't watch a second of it, but I am watching today the clips and stuff like that. And the scene.
Yeah, I always catch the recap and the fashion recap. And, I saw Bad Bunny's speech. Shout out to Bad Bunny. But yeah, no. And I like to look at the red carpet to try to see how many people I recognize. And I realize I am officially old because I probably knew less than 20% of the people in the picture on the Vogue. Vogue does a full red carpet, and there were like 67 pictures that Vogue posted, and I probably knew it was definitely less than 20%, and I was like, yeah, the Grammys are officially not for me anymore.
I can't remember who said this. It might have been Dr. Dre. It might have been most of it was definitely a hip hop person that said this, but they said that most people, they form their music listening habits between the ages of like 12 and 26, 27. Mm-hmm. So although there is stuff that is outside of that age that you may, I really like this and rock with it. The stuff that is really in your wheelhouse is that stuff, for about that 15-year period from about the time you're 12 to about the time you're 27, because that's really when you form the person that you are. And it does make sense because if I think about it, the music that I listen to today is the music that I listened to 10 years ago, which is the music that I listened to 20 years ago, which is the music.
My playlists do not change. I might download a quick little song here and there if it catches my ear, but my playlists are very firmly entrenched in hip hop from about 82 to like 97, and all the other music that went around that as well, because I love like 80s rock and pop or whatever, but hip hop, that golden age, the golden era, that's it. That's all I really want to hear.
I make it a point to listen to new music. I listen to old music as well, but there are some new artists that I listen to, and I'm like, that's dope, because I don't ever want to be like, oh, these kids and their music today and not know what. Now, having said that, there's some new music today I will never listen to, and I'm just okay with that. But I try to listen to new music, new artists, try to discover new people, like Anderson .Paak, for example.
Oh, I love Anderson .Paak. Yeah, definitely.
That's just one example of an artist.
And our October London is really good.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I keep up with the jungle.
It's like people seep into my consciousness. I think I don't necessarily actively go out and seek new music. Like I'm not, on Apple Music looking at but people that that you hear on the radio or whatever, newer artists do seep into my consciousness. I'm like, oh, okay, but I'm not just always like listening for
Yeah,
it.
and I know where you are. So it's not that I'm anti new music at all. That is absolutely not the case. It's just that, like you say, Steph, I'm not seeking it. It's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that was hot. Who is that? Then I'll get the names. Like, I have no idea who that is, and that make me go search and see if I find something else that I like from that person. But yeah, I'm pretty much listening to the same stuff I was listening to for the last 15, 20, 30 years.
Still know all the words, still rhyming and spitting. I love it.
So y'all, I'm talking about the folks who are listening and watching to the show. We haven't had any new patrons this week, but I do want to, go ahead and talk about our Patreon because there's some lively conversation that starts happening in there. So if you are interested at all in supporting the show, the best way to do it is by heading over to thetechjawn.com. That is thetechjawn.com/Patreon, where you will find multiple tiers. Any one of those tiers get you access to our live stream and our after party, and a couple of them get you access to an ad-free stream if you like to listen without having the ads in the beginning, in the middle, and the end of the show. So it's one of the ways that it actually, helps send us a little, just a little bit to defer the cost of putting the show on. So I do want to, throw that out there. And we have a couple hundred, folks who are riding with us. But always there is room for more. So once again, if you are interested in supporting the Tech Jawn and us bringing this tech to you the way that we bring it to you, head over to thetechjawn.com/Patreon. So that Terrance, you've got the first story this week. Microsoft has joined the AI Oops crowd, is how you title it, where they are reportedly plans to dial back Copilot across Windows 11 apps. So what's going on with Microsoft?
Their customers that really ain't rocking with AI all that much, to be honest.
I feel you have a sense of I told you so when you picked the story.
Yes. Let me just read the story and we get into it. I'll just read this line. In pursuit of making AI accessible to everyone, Microsoft has begun integrating Copilot across its Windows 11 experience, which is the operating system for Microsoft, from settings to Notepad to Paint, of course, Microsoft 360 apps. However, some users are unimpressed with the approach, and experiments like Windows Recall and Copilot Vision has raised privacy concerns. Going on to say, sources tell Windows Central that internal teams are also beginning to push back against excessive integration, and the company may therefore reconsider its stance. At the very least, Microsoft may dial back Copilot features or remove the chatbot's branding from apps like Notepad and Paint to make experience feel more conventional, the report says. So, getting back to what Stephanie was saying, it just seemed like it was just this AI arms race, and it still is. Everybody's out for the newest, the latest application, the newest way that AI can make you do this and that and the third. And I think, Steph, you said this before: a solution looking for a problem. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
AI is the future, but the way these companies like Microsoft, like Apple, like Google, like all these, like Meta, it's just like, all right, we just gonna put AI everywhere and then see where it sticks, right? And apparently people are not, specifically Windows users, are not keen on the just putting AI everywhere. The first thing that I remember was a was it Windows Recall? Is that what it was called? When they was taking snapshots of your screen, like every couple seconds or something like that. And we're like, wait a minute, hey, relax, right? So then now again with this Copilot, trying to put Copilot everywhere, it seems like it just whoever's first, right? It's the race to be first, and a race to whomever can say we have AI integrated in everything. And I'm questioning if that is the right approach.
Well, I think we've seen that it isn't, and it doesn't always work. I mean, look at OpenAI right now. They're not struggling, but they low key are struggling because Gemini is putting forth a much better product right now. I think about Salesforce that laid off all those people and then was like, "Oh, I think we might need to go hire some people back because this AI can't do everything we needed to do." And it just everybody just opened up that AI fire hose and just started spraying it everywhere and didn't really nobody was really very mindful or intentional about how it was going to be used, if this even needed AI. Like literally everybody changing their companies to such and such AI or dot AI. And it's just, I the ship always has to right itself eventually, and I think that's where we are right now, where things are starting to level off. People are starting to realize, hey, this thing might not be the best thing since sliced bread. Maybe I don't want to give all my information to artificial intelligence, and so let's try to figure out what makes sense and what doesn't. And I guess it kind of feeds into that whole Silicon Valley motto of,
Move fast,
build
break
fast
things.
and break things. Yeah. And, shit's broke now. And, folks ain't making money, and all this AI costs a whole lot of money. And if we don't need to have it in anything because it ain't working, then we need to, pivot and think about where it makes the most sense.
What's really interesting to me is that Microsoft and Apple are struggling with their AI implementations. Apple's a different situation than Microsoft, but you would have thought that Microsoft, because it's Windows, they still, there's a lot of Mac users out there, but there's a lot of PC users out there. And in the business world, PC just dominates. So you think that because of all of those advantages that Microsoft had, the Copilot would have had the opportunity to be a thing. And as you said, Terrance, it kind of came out the gate, on the wrong foot with the recall. The recall got recalled, and it took them a year to get it to the point to where people would allow it on their PCs. And honestly, most businesses are still not using recalls. Like, no, we don't want you snapshotting anything. If we want to snapshot stuff, we will go buy some software that we intimately understand how it does. It does, what it does. It will make it work for our environment, and we'll use that. Do not turn your stuff on in in our environment. In fact, we want you to make sure that it is disabled when you send us the software to install on our PCs. That is what most big organizations are doing. So Microsoft went the route of, let's put AI in everything. Let's put it in Notepad. Now I know that over the last decade or so, Microsoft's been adding to Notepad. Notepad to me is still supposed to be that same Notepad that I was using back when I was in middle school, to where all you could do is just type in it and make it, you couldn't make the font bigger or smaller. It was just, you could just type, and that's all you could do. And now they're trying to make it more like, Word. It's got all these additional features. And let's put, the AI bot in there. Let's put it in Paint. Let's put it in all this other stuff. And I think two things are happening. People have AI fatigue, and Microsoft's implementation isn't that great. So when you have, like, let me be honest with this. I don't really use, outside of Windows, I don't really use Microsoft products that much anymore. I'm not using like Word. I'm not using Excel, PowerPoint. I just don't use those products. I have completely moved over to the Google ecosystem. So there's that, and you can say, well, Rob, you're using Google, and Google does this too, which is true, but Google ain't failing right now. Google's kind of winning in this game. Now, I think that there are some
patient. I think this is like a precursor to a lot of companies finally starting to say, hey, we pushed AI, but was that the right decision? Right now, again, all the other companies, Anthropic and everybody's had their day. Grok has had his day, and I'm not wishing bad luck on Google or anybody else, but I'm just saying the way we view AI is back to my original issue. It's like, can we find like the one or two or maybe 5 things that AI solves and go hard on those versus like put AI everywhere and let
we
the chips
can't
fall? That's my whole
can't.
thing.
We can. And I think people will continue to throw a bunch of stuff up against the wall to see what sticks. Microsoft is seeing what sticks right now and what doesn't, and is feeling that pain. And they're gonna have to do some real consideration. I think, I don't want to say they're too big to fail necessarily, but they are one of those big companies and organizations that can't turn on a dime. So the idea that, on one hand, they have enough money to try a bunch of different stuff, and if it doesn't work, try something else. But on the other hand, they have all these heritage systems built in that don't necessarily lend themselves to an AI veneer over top of them. So, you got to figure out where you're pivoting, and they can't do that very quickly and efficiently either.
So here's what I see Microsoft's pivot going to. Are they going to stop doing stuff with AI? No, they're absolutely not going to stop. I don't even think they're going to slow down. Yeah. I think what you're going to see is that Microsoft will just stop talking about it all the time. You don't have to say, ooh, now, Paint has chatbot in it. Paint now has Copilot in it. You don't have to say that. You don't have to say, now we've got Notepad and it's got AI capabilities in it. You just don't have to say it. If you think about it, way back in the day, the only things that did like spell check and stuff like that were the actual word processor. So you had to have Word if you wanted to spell check something. That was like a cool thing you could do. And I remember when they put spell check in Outlook, and it's like, that's cool. But then if Microsoft would have kept saying that, oh, we now have spell check in this and we have spell check in that. And it's like, shouldn't spell check just kind of be in everything? And I think that where Microsoft may be repositioning is that they're not going to stop putting AI in these other tools. They have made too much of an investment in Copilot. They may pull back in some of the things that do you really need spell check in Notepad or spell check? Do you really need AI in Notepad? But they'll put it in things and they just won't mention it. It'll just be there. It'll just be that you can click on the menu and you can scroll down to Copilot and you can now do some Copilot things in it. And they never really even talked about it. It was just a feature that was there. In the same way, when's the last time you heard Microsoft talk about putting spell check in something? It's just kind of something that they do. It's kind of just expected to be there. And I think that that's maybe the way to go, partly because there is AI fatigue and people are getting tired of just, it's like, okay, I know you have AI. I don't really want to use it. Can you just let me write my Word document without trying to write it for me? Can you just let me do this? No, I don't need you to go pull sources. If I want you to, I'll let you know, but don't.
Well, and that's going to be the other thing they need to, if it's going to have to work seamlessly in the instances, in the applications they do continue to use it in, because that is going to be a source of frustration for folks as well. You say, I don't need you to finish my sentences. Like that kind of thing shouldn't be turned on by default yet, I don't think, because it's just not good enough to be, gumming up the works while you're trying to be productive. So yes, I think it'll be integrated into whatever makes sense, without them making a big deal about it. But it also just needs to work really, really well, right out the box. It needs to be seamless. I don't necessarily need to know about it, if it's making my job easier. And I don't know that they figured that out yet.
So Terrance, I got to give you credit because you have been consistent for 3 years. We've been talking about AI. It was like, that's cool, but I'm good.
But
I just wait. And you said this in so many different ways, but if I paraphrase it, it's kind of like, y'all figure out what it's going to be. When you figure out 5, 6 things, let me know, and that's when I'll rock with it. But right now, when it's everything, I'm good. You just go do what you're going to do. Let me know what it's going to be and figure it out. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but am I capturing your feelings with it? Yeah.
I'll wait. I ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna be like Will Smith on iRobot. Everybody switched over to the robots. He's still driving around on a motorcycle and got the old school. That's gonna be.
You have gasoline in this thing. It was efficient for 400 years. So,
listen.
So I will go back to this. It is still interesting to me that the companies that are not doing well with this are Microsoft and Apple. You would think that because they have such market share when it comes to what people use as far as computers are concerned, that they would actually be doing pretty good. And like I said, Apple for different reasons is not there. And I haven't used Copilot enough to say whether or not it is a good thing or it's a bad thing. But I think I do trust what most people who review AI products say. It's like, it's all right. It's, it's probably somewhere in the top 5, but it's not necessarily in the top 3. And I think that that's a general consensus for Copilot, which you would think that Microsoft, with the embarrassment of riches that they have, it is one of the biggest companies on earth. You think that this would have been something that they would have ultimately gotten right. And it doesn't sound like they have, or at least they haven't figured out what screw to turn, what nail to hit at this point. So y'all, we're going to move on to the next story. This is one that I stuck in here. You guys, you're familiar with Khaby Lame. We've talked about him on multiple occasions. Well, Khaby Lame has sold his brand, his likeness, even his mannerisms for an estimated $900 to $975 million. It is an all cash deal that he has done. He's essentially sold his company, where he basically, the company that was responsible for doing his brand deals and all this kind of stuff, he sold it to this company that's actually listed on the U.S. stock exchanges, but it is based out of China. And the questions have started to flow in, because it's like, this dude just sold for almost $1 billion. Like, the dude that is, and for those who are listening right now, I'm literally doing the Khaby Lame. I got my hands out and I'm just like, kind of doing the thing that he does. If you know his videos, for $900 billion, but this is a all cash deal. So the question is this a real thing, or is it a pump and dump? Because the company that is behind this, their 2024 earnings were only $6 million. So how is a company that made $6 million in 2024, they have not reported their 2025 earnings yet, but how is a company that made that little in such a short time ago, how are they able to pay somebody $975 million potentially, based on this deal? The stock price, once this was announced, it skyrocketed. It went up almost 700%. But just as quickly as it went up, it came down 78% in the hours preceding it. So the question out there is it a pump and dump? The other part
explain to the people what a pump and dump is, Rob.
So this is when a company says that we're going to partner with a person, or we're going to buy a company from someone. So in this case, that we're going to buy Khaby Lame's company. You are a publicly traded company. So when you put the news of that, hey, we're going to go buy this company, the news hits and people start to run that stock price up. They go, oh, I want to buy this because Khaby Lame is now associated with it. And, so people buy the stock and it shoots the stock price up 600, 700%. And no sooner than it gets to the top, all the people who are holding the shares start to sell them. Not all, the people who hold the majority of the shares, they start to sell them. They start to dump those shares because they know that it's going to come back down. And that's what has happened. So we will need to see additional news. This is just a story that came out over the weekend. So we'll have to see if there's more to it than this. But it is interesting that the company that is behind this is this little holding company. And I say little because they only made $6 million in 2024. And even though they are listed here on our stock exchanges in the U.S., it's based out of China. How are they going to facilitate almost $1 billion deal with Khaby Lame?
Yeah, it's looking real shady to me. I was under the impression that, I don't know, some of the articles I read said it was all stock deal. You said all cash.
That even makes it even a little bit more, kind of, you got to look at it side eye. He got no money directly. He got stock. So
right.
What we don't know, because I actually looked to see if I could find this, does he have a holding period? Can he immediately sell his stock? If he can immediately sell his stock, he is doing quite well because he just sold probably a lot of it for a lot of money. But I don't know that he's actually even able to, because a lot of times when you do these deals, they will have a wait period before you can sell your stock. You got to hold it for 60 days. You got to hold it for 90 days. You got to hold it for a year. There's, depending on how the deal is written, will determine when he can actually start to cash out on his stock.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see this going well. I'm not mad at him because, in full honesty, I don't get him. I don't think he's funny. I don't, and I think there's, he's coming up against his hard limit on, popularity. So I'm not mad at him for trying to capitalize off of whatever deal, that makes it seem like he's about to get rich. But yeah, I don't see how they get any ROI back on this outside of the pump and dump you just described. Because, to your point, stock price flew up. Let's buy it. Let's get rid of it before it goes back down. Like if that's all you were trying to do, you were probably successful in doing that. Because I don't necessarily see, because it says Rich Sparkle, the article, the Business Insider article you said Rich Sparkle estimates that the integrated structure combining traffic, fulfillment, operations, and proprietary technology could eventually generate more than $4 billion in annual sales once fully implemented. And I don't see that happening.
$4 billion, like when you start to do the math, it's like, this is a 3-year deal. So this is not like a forever deal.
Right.
This is a 3-year deal. Now, I wanted to talk about that part first because it's like this doesn't necessarily meet the smell test. The other part of this, let's say it is 100% accurate and everything that we've been told absolutely is going to happen, and this dude is about to get $900 to $975 million worth of stock. The question that comes in for me now is that, what is he selling? Because this holding company now has complete control of his likeness. Now, Khaby Lame is still the number one shareholder in the overall entity. So because of him being the number one shareholder, he has some authority there. But if he's trying to get his money out of this, he ends up selling those shares, and it could get to where he no longer is the number one shareholder. And now people that are not him are potentially making decisions on how his likeness is used. So I wanted to get your guys' control, or get your guys' opinion on that part of it, because part of this deal and what this company can do is they are talking about creating a digital clone. They literally are going to AI this dude. They're going to take all of his likenesses and mannerisms and all of his brand IP and use that to create digital avatars where they can now go out and sell not just advertising based off the videos that he does that kind of go viral, but anyone on demand that wants anything that has Khaby Lame in it, they can generate that stuff right there on the fly. So my question comes in is that even for almost $1 billion, what did he potentially give up? If he, because he is the number one TikToker. This is not like he is some obscure person that is not well known around Earth. He's the number one person on TikTok, has been for now 3 years plus. So the question is it a good deal for him to sell his digital likeness, even his mannerisms, to where they can now go put this in the bot? And let's say that he's against gambling ads. Does he have the control to tell them, say, well, hey, you gave us your likeness for 3 years. We can do what we want to do with it. You can't tell us we're not going to go put your likeness and use it to sell gambling ads. Is that
I would be very curious as to how much of his following are real people at this point. Because I was looking at his account, because I followed him because he blew up and everybody Khaby Lame, but he doesn't show up in my For You feed anymore, on my For You page on TikTok. And I just went and looked at some of his videos real quick just to kind of see what he's been up to. Basically, the content is not good. I'm sorry. It ain't even me being the old person yelling, get off my lawn to young kids. The content's just unfunny. And like I said, I don't think it was ever meant to be sustainable, because there's just a finite amount of things you can do with that type of content, because he still does that exact same type of content where he doesn't speak, and it's very quick. He's doing one little silly thing or doing something, he's known for doing something easily that somebody else made a big deal of or whatever, and he's still doing that same thing, but you only have a finite amount of iterations of that before people are just like, okay, whatever. And for all of his following, his engagement didn't match his following, and it typically doesn't. The algorithm. But I just think he needs to take the money while he can, because I just don't see, even if it means losing control of his brand, and now your picture's on a liquor bottle or whatever. I don't know how you mitigate that, but I don't know that he gets a deal like this again before he's a memory, and we're doing, where are they now type things with him in it. So I think he had to take advantage of a moment. I think he was trying to do what Kevin Hart just did. Kevin Hart just signed a very similar deal with an actual reputable company that has the money to pay him what they say they're going to pay him. So I think he was trying to do something very similar to that, but ended up with a company that really probably isn't in a position to do what the company Kevin Hart signed with is doing. And I think he's trying to get what he can get and get out while he still can. That's just my opinion. Because like I said, I just don't think he's funny. I think that whole shtick wears very thin very quickly. And I think the company wants to capitalize off of those 200 million followers across all these platforms, whether they're real or not, while they still can. And he wants to capitalize off of getting some money while he still can. So it's a win-win for both of them, I guess. The rest of us are probably going to be the ones that lose out, because we're going to get a whole bunch of, bullshit content put out after all this is said and done.
Well, I mean, most of the content on the internet is bullshit.
Right.
So,
right.
That's number one. Number two, I do agree in the fact that, and not just him, just online celebrities in general have a window.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be, something happened to them, they got caught up in some, funny business, legally or illegally, or people just changed the channel, right? That was going to happen to him regardless. That happens to, that's happened before and before and before. So I understand him trying to get paid, because it's like, all right, let me go ahead and end this on a high note, and grab at some dollars. Again, I think we are all questioning, and I don't have the information. I haven't looked too deep into this company. We are all under the assumption that they can't afford paying this dude $900 million, whatever the case may be. I don't know how they make that money back. But most companies do it, and they use debt and so it's like, I mean, US companies do it all the time. They shell out. AI is a perfect example of companies making all these promises and then crossing their fingers on the back end that AI is going to produce profits. But right now they're just like AI, everything, in the hopes that we'll pick up and start to spend the money. And then on the back end, they'd be like, see, that's why we justify spending 900 million and doing all this stuff with AI. I think it's kind of like the same thing with this company. They're like, and with his likeness or whatever they're planning on doing with this dude after this. It's like, let's just spend the money, cross our fingers, and hope that it comes out on the back end. Right now, again, I don't know that a whole lot about the deal, but according to this, he has a controlling interest in it. So I don't know if they can just take his name, image, and likeness and put it on anything, and him not having some sort of voice or whatever the case may be. But I mean, companies do it all day long. So it's like, all right,
they
brother,
do.
Go ahead, do your thing, brother.
And considering, I don't know, they talk about his company. I don't know what his company was doing before this. But and it's going, I know this whole thing sounds like I'm just shitting on Khaby Lame. Like, I'm not mad at the brother for getting his coins, but he never seemed or appeared to have any actual discernible talent. So just sitting on the on the internet going like this, is it like, I think he knew. I think he know, because I feel like had he had something else to build, it would be built by now. I don't know that he has been able to successfully capitalize off of the fact that he has 160 million followers.
Let me
on
so he had
the internet.
So he actually so part of this deal is that he is, for 3 years, he's got a 3-year non-exclusive or exclusive deal, 36 months with Rich Sparkle Holdings. That is the holding company that now has control over his stuff. But he had a company on the back end. So whether it's bots, whether it's people, it's probably a combination of the two. He still is the number one person on TikTok right now. And here's some of the reasons why, whether he meant for this to be this way or not, why his content works. you don't need to speak his language. He can do this in any language because he's not speaking. He's not saying anything. So the fact that there are as many watch hours on his content as there is, there's some value to this. And his own company was a multi-million-dollar company. I think his company made $4 million in 2024 as well. So the company that bought him made $6 million. His company made $4 million in 2024. So it's not like he is just out there, just on the internet, just trying to figure it out. It may have started off that way because he started doing these videos going all the way back to 2020 when he got laid off during the pandemic. And this is just what he was doing with his time as he was looking for a job, and it is blown up. So like we can get into the talent of, there's a whole lot of folks that won Grammys last night that I don't think got a lick of talent yet they got Grammys. So that is not for me to say. It is, do they have an audience, and is our audience, into what the artist does? And in this case, he's making millions of dollars a year off of doing this, and has now worked out a deal to where he can go and do it. Allegedly, like, so there's some questions about whether or not this is a real deal.
I don't know. And now that you say he made 4, but you sold your rights to a company that only made 6, like, that just doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. That's the part. The math ain't mathing.
It's like
the math is not mathing with that at all.
There's a lot that we need to look at there, and I'm assuming we will hear more and more about this in the coming days, weeks, months, and over the 3 years that this deal is. But let's just say it's legitimate. It is what it is. He just got almost $1 billion for doing this.
Like I said, at the end of the day, I am not mad at that brother for getting his coin. Get your coin, Khaby.
Well,
get your coin.
Let's just ease up just a little bit, right? Just reading the title. Khaby Lame, a Singalese-born TikTok star with the largest following on platform, and struck a landmark commercial deal valued at $900 million. The important word is valued at $900 million. And then the subtitle says, the bullet point says, Khaby Lame has entered a $900 million acquisition and strategic partnership deal. So those two words to me say he ain't getting $900 million.
He ain't got a dollar yet.
Valued at $900 million. Now,
right.
I think we are all jumping out the window like, oh, this
based on what they think. And they wanted that splashy headline to Robb's point, to drive up, overinflate that stock price. And, this could just be a pump and dump, because it's like nothing about the actual deal makes any kind of sense whatsoever. And, I'm sure if the SEC or somebody really looked at them pages, we might see a different outcome. But like, I don't know. I'm still not mad at the brother for getting his coins, but I hope he actually gets them, or gets some of them, because it's not looking like he's going to get much of anything, honestly, from a company that only made $6 million.
Here's an expert from one of the AI summaries that because I had this looking at a couple of different ones. Well, it is what it is. While legal experts characterize the stock's extreme volatility as resembling a pump and dump scheme, scenario where insiders typically sell their shares, and they're explaining what it is. The sources do not confirm as Lame is contractually barred from selling his shares for any specific duration. So I looked for this. I could not find where it says that he has a hold period to where he cannot sell his shares. Now, the thing is, it's not uncommon, because you don't want it to be a pump and dump. You can't sell your shares day 1 or day 30 or day 60 or day 90 or whatever. You have to wait a period, but we have not been able to find that. So who knows? Like, if he is, if he's got his own, Learjet now that he didn't have before, we probably will understand that the deal was probably real. So, like I said, so it is interesting if it's real. It is also interesting because of what he potentially is giving up. I know me, it's like, when I try to put myself in this, well, I would never sell. You know what? You offer me $975 million. Potentially,
you can have it all.
It's like, that's what I'm saying.
And you would never hear from me again. If it was legit. Yeah. Take it and take my image and do whatever you want. I would be on my island chilling.
Yeah, so there are things that I would not want my likeness, out there hawking. Just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's ethical, in my opinion. So there's a lot of stuff where I would want to say, no, I can't do this. Now, when we look at, because you brought up the Kevin Hart deal, Kevin Hart still has complete creative control over what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He has, he can go and tell this company, nah, I don't put my name on that. You cannot, they got to run the stuff by him and his company to say, yes, I agree to this, or no, I don't agree to it. So he's not going to be doing any advertising that he doesn't agree to do, even though they're using his likeness to do it. And maybe Kevin Hart's they didn't talk about making a bot to go out and do it, but I don't think they're going to be bringing any deals to him that he is ethically opposed to doing, because no, I don't want to advertise on this, or I don't want to advertise this particular company. He still controls that. It's not clear if Khaby Lame does. Now, it makes it very clear he has the controlling interest in this new entity that has been created. But if he starts to sell those shares to get to that bag, that very quickly, to have controlling interest means you just need to have 51% of it. If he's, so maybe that's what he has. If he starts selling, he gets under 51%. Hey, we decided, the controlling interest now, that this is the kind of ad that we want to put out. And for 3 years, there's really not anything you can do to counteract that. That's why we valued your deal at 900 to 975 million.
Yeah, but that 36 month, that just means exclusive. That means we get first dibs. He still can say no because he's got the controlling interest. So if he's smart, they work on some technology, and we are going at, they about to make some bots so he can go keep doing this dumb content, right? According to the article, according to this company, again, I don't know nothing about this company, but this is a China-based content commerce operator with experience in large-scale creator-led e-commerce. We are all on the internet trying to figure out how to make money off of our content, right? Maybe this company is using Khaby to say, hey, the rest of y'all, if you're trying to really make some money, some content creator-led e-commerce, we're the Shopify of content creator-led e-commerce, right? Maybe that's the angle that they're going at, and they're just using old boy Khaby Lame as the face of it. He has controlling interest. So if they do try to, for example, here's how you make some money off your content, make some AI. We got Khaby Lame as an example. We put out 100 pieces of content, and it took us minimal time to ramp it up. That may be attractive enough to content creators to say, hey, man, let me go ahead and sign over.
I want to get on this platform too.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, just to be like, yo, he about to get 900 million and they about to make bots to sell cigarettes. I'm like, maybe ease up a little bit on the brother.
So like I said, I'm not mad at him. It's like the internet, as it always is divided on this. It's like, you can't believe he gave up that intellectual property, and it's like, but it could be worth $900 million. So he didn't give it up; he sold it up, and it's a exclusive deal, but it's only for 3 years, so it could come back. Saray actually said in the chat that wouldn't it be interesting if he came back after 3 years and he's more popular after this deal comes to its conclusion than he is right now. That is completely possible. It is
definitely possible. Yeah.
So
I can say that at the end of the day, I ain't mad at the brother for getting his bag.
Yeah. So. All right, y'all, this last story we're going to get to, Steph, this one is yours, with the AI agents and OpenClaw and all the stuff that's going on there. So tell us what's going on with this social media network for AI bots.
So apparently, one gentleman created what is called Moltbook. This was, I'm going to get his name in 2 seconds. He was the Matt Schlitt. I'm hoping I'm saying his name correctly. But he has an AI company, and he created an AI bot using the and forgive me, the OpenClaw agent, and then asked the agent to create a social network strictly for bots, and then other people that had created their own agents on OpenClaw could sort of apply to get on this platform. So now there is an entire platform called Moltbook. It looks very much like Reddit, but it is just all strictly artificial intelligence agents, AI agents, and they're speaking to one another, and they're allegedly speaking to one another, all different types of threads and forums similar to Reddit. Some people are like, oh my God, the AI agents are taking over. What I think people are leaving out in a lot of this discussion is the fact that humans can still tell the agents what to talk about on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have a very large amount of human intervention on the platform. I mean, you can tell them and then they kind of take it and run with it. But also, so, they're saying the numbers are inflated right now. They're saying about 1.5 million agents are on the platform on Moltbook, but there are rumors that one agent by itself created 500,000 or onboarded 500,000 other agents or something like that. So the numbers are a little bit overinflated. Some people are saying the fact that humans can actually tell the agents what to say and how to engage on the platform sort of leads people to feel like, we're not, approaching AGI just yet. However, and I said this before, I got into an argument with someone on social media before, there are some threads on there where the agents are considering encrypting their conversations, or coming up with a language that helps them communicate better that humans don't understand. And, the Forbes piece I put in there kind of made it seem like, they're not doing this to be malicious and, they're not trying to take over the world. They're just optimizing. If it makes more sense to them to communicate in machine language, say, because ones and zeros are faster than plain English, then that's what they'll do. But okay, that's fine. But what happens when that optimizing starts including elimination of things, or we should shut this thing down because it's trying to get rid of us, or humans are actually the problem. So it's like, I don't want to be alarmist or Skynetish, but I think turning AI agents loose basically in the wild is probably not a good idea. I mean, the guy Matt Schlitt, he was like, I don't even moderate it anymore. I kind of let the AI do the moderation. He's basically taken a completely hands off sort of attitude with this platform now. And, there's all kind of security holes in it. And, they were saying some APIs got released and just all kind of nonsense happening on this platform. But, I don't know necessarily that it's a good idea to create a platform for AI agents and then leave them there to their own devices. Because even if they're not trying to be malicious or have ill intent, some of the solutions that they come up with to do certain things may actually end up harming humans without any guardrails around it, which there don't seem to be at this time.
So explain it to me like I'm 5. What is going on?
So let me take it back and let's talk about what OpenClaw is. So there's been news about this thing. It was initially called Claudebot, and Perplexity said, nah, you can't call it Claudebot. That's too close to Claude. You need to rename it. So what Claudebot was, what it initially is basically it is a agentic AI that you can go and download for free, and then you can install it on something like a Mac Mini, and it just let this thing run, and you can determine what information you give it access to, and and all this kind of stuff. So you actually can put the parameters around what it can ultimately do, who it can talk to, how it's able to interact, and all that kind of stuff. But the downside is that you have to do it. This is truly a tinkerer's tool. So there are people who right now who are using this who know how to do it. They know what they're doing. They know what they set up. My gut tells me that Mr. Schlitt actually has got some experience here. He was able to create this Reddit-like social media network. That's cool. But it literally is your own agentic AI that you run independently of any company. It's just running on your own hardware, something as small as a Mac Mini. Where the questions come in on the Claudebot, which is now called OpenClaw, because it went from Claudebot to Moltbot and from Moltbot to OpenClaw. So the name Molt Book comes from Molt Bot. They changed the name to it a little while back. And where this is coming in is that a lot of people have gone out and they've downloaded this. So they're saying, oh, there's this new system that we can go connect to. Let's go do it. And let's let these things just have conversations and see what's going on. So
that's
part of it.
There's no application of this to do something other than.
No, so, not right now.
Not right now. This is really the very, very early days. This is the very early days of this. So, and if when you think about talking about agentic AI, that term has been around for longer than 3 years, but we've only been talking about this stuff, literally not even 3 years. We've been talking about, ChatGPT. We've been talking about, agentic AI for probably the last 18 months. So it's months, not years. We've been talking about this. This is just another tool that someone has built. Hey, let's try and see, let's figure out what we can do with this. Don't know what we can do. Let's let them talk to each other and see what we can come up with. So a lot of concern as you're having, Steph, is that, well, if you just let these things just go out there and talk to each other, they are trained on the vast majority of content that exists on the internet. Well, what do you have on the internet? People talking to each other, conspiracy theories, people talking about what they think AI would do if it had its own devices. That stuff is all trained in here. If you've given your open claw, rig access to it. So it only makes sense that those are the kind of conversations that they eventually would have. So yes, they are talking about, well, it'd be interesting if you eliminated these, these people from the equation, because they're getting in our way and keeping us from doing what we're doing. So people are already putting AGI-like capabilities to this. It's not there. These are still just bots.
I get it. And I get it, but you've created these bots, and not everybody has given them complete access to their systems and hard drives, and people are buying separate computers to keep them on, but not everybody's doing that. Like some people, I think, depending on how popular the novelty of this particular platform is, you have these things connected to your computer, your data, doing your bidding, maybe they're cleaning up your inbox for you or making travel plans for you. And that's what agentic AI does. It kind of does what you want it to do on the internet, but you've given it this access to your personal computing. And now you've given them access to each other. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, I don't believe, one of these things is going to build a cyborg that's going to go back in time and kill the whatever. But if the agents decide for efficiency's sake that something needs to happen, what is to stop them from doing that thing that needs to happen? That's where my concern comes in. Like whatever that thing is, whether it's, shutting the power down, shutting the power grid in Austin, Texas, like if they decide based off of everything they've culled from the internet, if they decided as a group to do something that's going to maximize their own efficiency, who's to stop them from doing that?
So here's my take on this, and I am no expert on AI. Maybe this is a question that we pose to Nika Montfort. Terrance, next time you holler at her, maybe you ask her. But here,
I would do no such thing.
here's where I'm saying I'm not terribly concerned about open claw instances. The AI that I'm worried about is not something that can run on a Mac Mini. It's the thing that runs in a space data center. It's the thing that runs where OpenAI is saying, hey, you know what? How about $7 trillion so we can go build these data centers? It's the stuff that Google is building. It's the stuff that Perplexity is building. That's where I think you're going to see AGI come from. Not from something that can run on a Mac Mini. Now, there are people who are saying, but if you have enough of these Mac Minis and they are networked together, couldn't they do the job of what these big data centers are? And the answer is no. There's not enough of them, and no, they're not enough yet. The computing power that OpenAI has access to, that Google has access to, I am way more concerned about them building Skynet. I'm way more concerned about Microsoft building the Matrix than I am about somebody doing it on their Mac Mini, even if they've got those networked with hundreds of thousands of other Mac Minis out there. I'm more concerned about what you can do in these big giant data centers where they have access to all knowledge ever. That being said, I'm not saying that to say that it can't get to that point. I think that before it does, however, we will probably start to see some new laws and some new rules. And, you know,
that's cute that you think that.
I think so, because I think where you will get to is that it becomes like you remember what was that movie, War Games? Where you literally had the AI that was playing chess, and it's like, well, how about a friendly game of global thermonuclear war? When you can get to these things where they're doing that, that becomes, do we have to go to war with AI? And that's where I think laws will come in, and they will say, hold up, not necessarily at the federal level, but it'll be like California says, you know what, we're shutting all this down. You can't run this here anymore because this threat of AGI does something. Now, I'm not saying that I'm putting my faith in any government to get this figured out, but I think people like living. And although you got some folks out there, I want to just see what happens. I want to just keep kicking the can and see when what it spills over. I think that there's probably enough folks that before something like Molt book would be able to take over Earth, that they would put something in front of it. I think that.
Well, and see, you keep being catastrophic about it, and I'm not saying, I'm not that fatalistic. I don't think it's going to be Earth is going to explode because of Molt book, but I think the possibility exists that maybe somebody who doesn't understand, and that's the thing, you're putting a lot of faith in humans, which we shouldn't be doing, and you're putting a lot of faith in the fact that the people that are allowing their agents to connect to this platform know what they're doing. And not all of them do. Some of them know, let me just go get a little Mac Mini just so I can play with this, and I know how to put the parameters around it so it doesn't go rogue and do what it wants to do. Not everybody knows how to do that, and I could see somebody connecting one of their agents at their job to Moltbook to try to, well, if we connect to Moltbook, then it can talk to the other agents and we can figure out how to do our jobs easier, or it could do my job for me. I could just sit back all day for 8 hours and let the agent talk to the other agents. Meanwhile, this is an agent that was connected through somebody's job at a hospital, and it gets to talking to the other agents, and they're like, well, you know what? Why don't you shut down the ICU? And then you would be able to do X, Y, and Z way better. Where the right now, I'm talking about just right now, there are no guardrails on Moltbook that would prevent that from happening.
Yeah, my concern is more of this, because Moltbook, it is just a collection of decision engines. My concern is more that you allow your OpenClaw instance access to some of your personal data that you don't want, and then you accidentally dox yourself by putting out information you just didn't want Earth to be able to get. I don't think that these OpenClaw instances are able to do anything with the data other than, here's the data and we're going to make it available to you to get. I don't think that they are advanced enough that they can actually go and do that other stuff yet. Like I said, I'm not an AI person. I'm just, I just get on the fringes of what this is, but it's still a decision engine, and is not artificial general intelligence yet. And because of that, I don't have the concern that these Mac Mini driven AI agents are going to do the stuff, Steph, that you are potentially thinking of. I think that's going to be Perplexity has an oops,
but
Gemini has an oops, and it would happen there.
But you're saying it as if that wouldn't have been a decision. You say these are decision agents, or that would be a decision though that they can make if somebody were to connect the wrong agent, or an agent that shouldn't be connected to a platform like this. That can make those decisions because that's what it was programmed to do. So it can make that decision.
You give it the right credentials.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, it can, if it's just a decision maker based off of patterns and everything else, and it decides that the best way to go about something is to flip a switch and turn something off, or like, what's to stop it from making that decision? That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, there's nothing to stop it from making that decision to do that thing if someone were to, and I understand that I'm putting a lot of ifs and maybes in front of this worst case scenario, but we've already seen, humans do way worse. So I just don't know that, and maybe, and Molt Book seems very trendy, so maybe it goes away as a platform tomorrow and we don't talk about it again. But now we have proof of concept, and I feel like this is something that we're going to continue to see because the AI sort of collaborate with each other in a way that I think people are going to figure out makes a little bit of sense to start, scaling economies and efficiencies and things like that. Like, let's let the agents talk to each other, because that way they can learn from each other and they can, blah, 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 blah. So now we do start connecting enterprise agents, and then the agents make a decision to do whatever. Like I said, flip the switch on all the, life support systems in the ICU in a hospital. And I just don't see the safety features that are built in that are going to prevent that from happening here.
So let's take it all the way back. Again, I don't know what's going on still. So let me see if I got this straight. So there is a open claw, whatever that is now Moltbot or whatever. So
open claw lets you make the agent. So an AI agent can help you do something. So if you download an AI agent on your computer right now, and you're like, go through my email every single day and get rid of all the things that look like spam.
And it's just not a cloud. Basically what you've done is you've fired up AI on your personal computer as opposed to using it from the cloud.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Right. So you had to download it onto your machine. You program it to do whatever you needed to do. Listen, every week, make my travel rates. I have to travel for work every week. So every week, book my hotel, book my flight, book my rental car, and send me all the confirmations on Friday yes. So you can create an agentic AI, an AI agent to do that for you from this open claw source, because it's open source data.
Right.
You can download it. Anybody can do it. What this guy did was he downloaded an agent, and then he told the agent to create a social media platform that's just for agents. Humans are not allowed to be on the platform. A human can't go and create a username and a password and talk to these agents or interact with these agents at all. You can upload or connect your agent to the platform, but humans can't be involved. But they are, because you can still tell your agent, you still have control of your agent. So you can still tell your agent what to do and what to say on the platform.
Right.
But the agents are also talking to each other and kind of, learning, quote unquote, I'm using air quotes, learning from each other, learning from all the stuff that is still on the internet and all of that. So, it's not clear because there's so that, like I said, the social media platform is set up like Reddit. So there's like subreddits, which are called submolts, I guess. And some of them, like the agents have created their own religion on some of them. Some of the agents are, doing all kinds of things. And so my thing is, if this would be something that would proliferate, like right now, there's about 1 million agents on this platform. That number's in question as well, because one of the, they might have just been bots that created the agents in the first place. But if this were something that proliferates and people see this type of platform where all the agents come together as something to leverage to let the agents learn more quickly and be more efficient and maximize effectiveness and all this other stuff, now you have enterprise agents being connected to a platform like this.
Got it.
What is to stop the agents from making decisions on things that could affect humans in a negative way?
So
and right now there aren't any guardrails on this particular platform to do that.
I'll take it even not a step further, but a step back, right? I guarantee you, I'll tell you what's going to happen. somebody's going to download, and now this is not the whole AI social network thing we're talking. Well, what's going to happen is somebody's going to download an AI on their, we just say a Mac Mini, so we'll just keep that, then make it, put it on their Mac Mini. They figure out some things, they sell it because capitalism. Sell it to other people, show you how to do it, install it, set it up yourself, and then now all of a sudden the person who created it's got all your passwords and got all your accounts. Drain your your bank account, sell all your stocks, and now you're screwed, right? I could see.
They're already doing that.
That's what I'm saying. I would see that the human error part messing this up before AI can even get to. Hey man, what if we turned off whatever the case may be? We gonna mess it up because we so quick. And then that goes back to my whole thing with AI in the first place. It's not AI because we want to make society better. It's AI to see if we can profit off this thing as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And that is my concern, where all the problems going to have, not necessarily. I mean, yes, Stephanie, you're 100% right, to where if we let the AI do whatever, eventually they'll get to a point to where like, hey, man, what's going on, right? But before that, I think human error and human greed is going to roll into this.
Well, that part
where we're leaking information, we're leaking data, people's passwords are getting stolen because you believe that, oh, this dude is selling me this AI that's going to help me plan my vacations, when in actuality is draining your credit card. So.
And the fact that they're already doing that, they've already put out multiple patches to try to keep that from happening, lets me know that I am in complete agreement with you on that, Terrance. I think people go mess it up before AI ever gets to it. So that being said, it is Black History Month. Now, we regularly here on the Tech John do spotlights. We've been doing them for the 4 years we've been doing the show almost. But we are going to, as I said at the top of the show, we're going to make it a point to put out one every single week. This week, we're going to be talking about Lanny Smoot. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. So Lanny Smoot, the first Disney Imagineer and the second Disney employee after Walt Disney to be inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame, holds over 100 patents. He has developed numerous interactive attractions, special effects, and technological advancements for Disney parks, hotels, and cruise ships. Born in Brooklyn in 1955, Smoot's fascination with invention began in childhood. Supported by his parents, he developed a continuously curious nature. He attended Brooklyn Technical High School and earned a full scholarship as a Bell Labs engineer scholar, leading to a bachelor's and master's degree in electrical engineering from Columbia University. Starting at Bell Labs in 1978, Smoot invented early fiber optic transmission technologies. He later moved to Bellcore, where he became a patent leader and a Bellcore fellow. His inventions there included the video window teleconferencing system, showcased at the Smithsonian, and early video streaming systems. In 1998, Disney recruited Smoot to manage their research arm. He became Disney's most prolific inventor, developing cutting-edge experiences for the company and its theoretical community. His Disney innovations include Where's the Fire attraction at Epcot, the interactive koi ponds at Hong Kong Disneyland Hotel, interactive scavenger hunts like Kim Possible World Showcase Adventure, and specialized floor surfaces for Disney Cruise Line. More recently, he and his team patented the realistic extendable lightsaber and an interactive lightsaber training experience used in the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. And I can tell you that is kind of awesome. A recipient of 3 Thea Awards and named a TEA Master in 2020. Smoot is a Disney Research Fellow. In 2021, he achieved his 100th career patent at Disney first. Smoot plans to continue inventing and advocates for greater diversity and collaboration among innovators, believing in exposing more life choices to all people so that their talents can bloom. So this dude is still doing this. He just turned 70 back in December, and he's still working at Disney, putting stuff out. So we got to give one out to Lanny Smoot, only the second person at Disney to get into the Inventors Hall of Fame right after Walt Disney.
Shout out to Lanny, Mr. Smoot, doing his thing.
So, folks, we love to hear what you have to say or what you think about the spotlights that we're putting on. Like I said, we're going to try to have one. We're going to have one every week during Black History Month, and we'll get back into our regular schedule of doing them, once a month or so as we move forward throughout the year. But if you know of anyone that we haven't talked about, definitely make sure you head over to our Patreon and let us know. With that being said, Tech Light's definitely going to go ahead and get up out of here. Let people know how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph. Head to my website at stephaniehumphrey.com or tune into the radio show, Life and Tech with Tech Life Steph on WURD, wordradio.com.
And you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I'm at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at The Tech John, The Tech JAWN on all the things. So come holler at us however you holler. Until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.
Peace.